Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is David Holliday. I work for the National Student Exchange, but I'm also an NSE coordinator based at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Today's session is called NSE in Your Major. This is part of the NSE Virtual Fair. This session is a little bit different than other virtual fair sessions that you've attended. I'll be the only one that's presenting, although I do hope that there's conversation and questions that come from all of you. So again, thanks so much for being here. Please keep yourself muted if possible during the session. You certainly can unmute and ask questions if they come up, but I do love seeing videos on if you're willing to keep your video on. And this session is being recorded for folks that could not attend live. They'll be able to review after the fact. So a little bit about NSE. Our mission is to inspire academic enrichment, personal exploration, and student development by facilitating accessible collegiate study away among member colleges and universities throughout the United States, Canada, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We as an organization, but also as NSE coordinators, value diversity, open-mindedness, cross-cultural engagement, to foster learning, understanding, respect, and a sense of community among all people. We believe that adding a collegiate study away experience enhances your education and enriches student growth. We currently have 175 member campuses that are part of the NSE consortium. We have campuses across the United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we facilitate exchange between our member campuses. Any major is welcome, and we're going to talk a lot more about that during today's session. We have students from every academic background that participate in NSE. It is important to note, and I'll talk more about this, that some host campuses may have restrictions, limitations, or closed programs that could affect your access to specific courses. Financially, we're a very affordable program, and we offer two payment plans. They're called Home Pay and Host Pay. You'll see reference to these on the NSE website. Home Pay means you continue to pay your home tuition and fees. Pay those to your home institution. Host pay, if you're given that option, you pay in-state or resident rate tuition and fees to your host campus. A key benefit of NSE is the reciprocity agreement that we have amongst our member campuses, giving an NSE student access to that in-state or resident rate tuition at that host campus. Financial aid does follow you on exchange. All federal aid should go with you, with the exception of college work study. You do want to talk to your NSE coordinator and your NSE financial aid office about state aid or institutional scholarships to see if those will go or not. We are now accepting applications for the upcoming academic year. If you're from a current NSE member campus, applications can be submitted now all the way through the end of through the end of February for that next academic year. If you're not at an NSE member campus, which we call you guest students, you also now have access to NSE, but not until after March 10th. That's when you'll be able to apply and get placed for the upcoming academic year. So why do students participate in this program? Why do students do NSE? Well, this program allows you to grow academically, personally, and professionally through your time away. The opportunities are endless with our 175 campuses that you can go to on exchange. So I wanted to start with laying a little bit of the groundwork for NSE and who we currently serve. So the most popular majors on NSE are psychology, that's number one, biology, business, and undeclared. Those are the top four majors that students write on their applications for students that participate in NSE. And this is the next list, the next probably top 15 or so. So English, political science, sociology, a lot of liberal arts type majors. But then we get into marketing, communications, accounting, elementary education, history. Then we get a couple of engineering programs, civil engineering, mechanical engineering is on this list, journalism, kinesiology. So we literally serve any and all majors through this NSE program. Which courses can you take on exchange? So first of all, any discussion about courses, what courses you take on exchange and how they'll transfer back really need to be happening at your home institution, specifically with your academic advisor or your departmental advisor, whatever the advising structure is on your campus. But in general, NSE students take general education courses. I think all colleges and universities across the US and Canada have a set of general education or liberal education requirements that all students have to take. Those are quite easy to fulfill through National Student Exchange. Many students will take elective credits. Now, electives can be outside of your major, they also can be inside your major or minor. So electives are excellent and great to take on NSE as well. But many students will also take major courses and or minor courses. So in general, students can take courses in any of these areas, but I will stress that course flexibility is really key. So as you're starting to navigate the NSE website and think about applying and when you want to go, figuring out a time in your academic career where you have some course flexibility is really important. I'm going to talk more about that point here in a little bit. And actually, I'll talk about it now. Course registration at that host campus is based on course availability. Sometimes classes are offered in the fall or the spring or every other year. So, of course, that'll depend on when you're planning to go. The registration queue, that is when you actually register at that host campus. Some NSE campuses give you priority registration where you get to register first. A lot of us allow you to register according to class standing. That means if you're a sophomore, you register with our sophomores, or if you're a junior, you register with the juniors. So this all depends on seat availability. Obviously, if you register pretty late in the registration process at that host school, there may be limited seats in certain classes. You have to also fulfill prerequisites or co-requisites. These will be evaluated by that host campus or by that host instructor teaching the course to make sure that you have the adequate academic background to succeed in that particular class. So sometimes that means requesting instructor permission. So the registration process does require some careful thought and pre-planning, but also being proactive on your part, actually asking the questions and reaching out to the right people. So now let's explore parts of the NSE website. So I have some slides here, and then later on in the session, we're actually going to go and look at the NSE website itself. So the first thing to determine is what classes do you really need to take on Exchange? Now, some of you may have specific courses you need to take in your major or your minor, or maybe another academic area that you're interested in looking at. So on the NSE website, under the campuses dropdown, you can select majors. Oops. And it takes you to this page where you can search by major from the list. NSE has about 250 majors listed on our website, but you can also use the text search. Since sometimes specific majors may be called slightly different names at other institutions, you can also use that text search. So search for NSE campuses that offer your major or your minor and or the academic program you're interested in. There might be a specific language that you're interested in or a specific niche minor that should appear on this list as well. We also have this really cool page that I think a lot of people forget about called Unique and Notable Programs. So again, under the campuses dropdown, you can select categories, and at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see Unique and Notable Programs. This page actually allows campuses to self-identify the academic programs that they consider to be unique and or notable. So these are self designated. Sometimes they're based on rankings. Sometimes they're based on your personal opinion on the coolness of a particular program. I really think our environmental science program is unique and really interesting, so I've added that to my unique and notable programs. So that's another great page to check to see if there are unique or notable programs available to you through any of the NSE schools. The next step in your research is to check the campus profiles. So every campus profile on the NSE website, you'll see this bottom section. The first button here is called Academics. And so, of course, this has everything to do with academics at that particular school. At the very top, we see some very helpful information regarding registration. You see a link to that campus catalog and the schedule of classes. Now, the big difference here is the campus catalog is every single course that's offered at that university. It does not indicate which term or terms that that class is offered. Whereas the schedule of classes, if it is public information, allows you to look at upcoming terms or even past terms to see which courses are offered now for the upcoming spring semester for many of these schools. So that allows you to be a little bit more specific about looking at the specific courses that may be offered when you go on exchange. I actually really like using that link because sometimes you can also see historical information. So if you're thinking about a spring 2025 exchange, well, looking at the spring 2024 schedule of classes can be helpful because you can see which classes are offered in the spring. They may or may not be offered that next spring, but likely they are. But you also can check that seats available column. For many of our campuses, you can see if classes filled up or not. That will help you, again, gauge whether or not you're going to get into particular classes. You'll also see when you register. Now, for this campus, it's after campus students. That means NSE students register late at the end of the registration period. Really, what that means is you need to have some extra flexibility with class selection because some classes will be full by the time you register. As I mentioned earlier, the majority of NSE campuses actually give you registration according to class standing. You'll see that right there. So again, sophomores register with sophomores, juniors with juniors, seniors with seniors. And then there are some schools, about 10%, that actually give you priority registration. So it will say before campus students in this section. Very important information that is presented next are closed programs and limitations. So we cannot guarantee access to every single course available through another NSE campus, especially when they've listed them as closed programs. So for this campus, nursing, aviation technology, aviation maintenance, those are closed programs. NSE students cannot gain access to those courses. So you were warned. Limitations can be a little bit more ambiguous. Does not mean that they are closed programs, but means that there may be some additional steps or some additional hoops that you may have to go through in order to gain access. So for this campus, they say departmental approval required for upper division business courses. So if you're a student that is needing to take business courses on exchange, specifically at the upper division level, this is a campus that it could work for you because they do offer upper division business courses, but you should anticipate a little bit more work or a little bit more conversation. They may do a prerequisite check. You may have to register at the end of the registration period, and if seats are available, you may get into them. So that's what a limitation is all about. So pay close attention to this information that is provided on every campus profile on the NSE website. So before you apply, as you're preparing, and we're focusing really on the academic side of things, it is important that you include your academic advisor in your planning. These are some questions that I instruct my students to ask their academic advisors before they apply for NSE. Will NSE fit into my current graduation plan? So this may depend on whether you're a first year student or you're a senior. Having that conversation or asking that question would be important. Part of this gets to residency requirements. Sometimes NSE credits are treated as transfer credits, which don't count as campus resident credits. It's an important question to ask your advisor. Are there specific campuses or locations I should consider? So your campus, that department may have sent students to particular campuses over the years, and they really would like you to keep going to those campuses. They may also want you to consider accreditation of the schools that you're considering, course transferability, how those credits have transferred back in the past, as well as uniqueness. On my campus, many of my departments really like using NSE because their students can access unique courses that are not offered at the University of Minnesota. That's a key benefit of NSE. Sometimes departments will be working with students that are thinking about grad schools, so they may want to send you to a particular grad school that they think would be a good fit for you to go to for grad school. So great question to ask your advisor. When should I do NSE? Is there a particular term where I have some course flexibility? So I said that word again, flexibility. That's really the key important thing when it comes to academic planning for NSE. So asking them, when can I take electives? Are there required major courses that I could shift around in case I cannot get them on NSE? Having that conversation is helpful with your advisor. Which courses should I take on exchange? So a lot of students, again, will take electives and or general education requirements. Those are pretty easy to fulfill across the NSE consortium. But when it comes to major or minor courses, you need to talk to your advisor. Can I take major or minor courses on exchange? Now, the majority of departments across campuses at the University of Minnesota and others really encourage students taking advantage of this type of program. And so they're going to work with you with regard to course evaluation and choosing courses to take on exchange. The original title of this session was from psychology, which is one of the most common majors, to biosystems engineering. Well, I've had biosystem engineering students do NSE. It's a very small major. They have very specific required courses, but that department loves their students doing this program because they can go and they can take those major courses elsewhere that will transfer back to the University of Minnesota. So talking to your advisor about major or minor courses. Asking at this point about how or when do I have the courses evaluated? So, of course, NSE's goal is to keep you on track to graduate. We want this program to fit within your current graduation plan. So, asking your advisor at this point, how or when do I have the courses evaluated? Now, for a lot of our campuses, there is already an approved list of courses. Whether it's from other NSE students that have already exchanged to that other campus and they've kept track of those approved courses, or on my campus, we have a transfer credit database where all of the approved NSE credits are housed. And so my students ahead of time, even before they apply, can look through that transfer credit database. But if there's not a database, if there's not an approved list of courses, or maybe the courses you want to take aren't on that list, you want to ask, what is the process for that? Every campus will have an evaluation process. Sometimes it will involve the admissions office or the registrar's office, but oftentimes the process starts with your academic advisor or with your department. So I would begin with that person. How do I plan for my return to campus? That's an important question. Which classes should I take? When does the registration occur? Planning for your return is important. And then another question, and I'm getting this more and more, as students don't hear about NSE until later in their college career. They're coming to me as seniors or juniors. So this is a common question. Can I do NSE my senior year? Well, the question depends on what campus you're from, what requirements that you have. And at my campus, we have a residency requirement where students have to take 15 of their last 30 credits as U of M resident credit. So it does take some careful advising of students going their senior year, but it is possible. That is an important question to talk to your academic advisor about. So you've had the conversations with your NSE. You've done all the research, some of which I've showed you here on the website. You found between 1 and 5 campuses that are really interesting to you, that offer the courses that you're interested in taking. You've talked with your academic advisor. You've submitted a complete application. So what happens next after you are placed? Well, first of all, you'll have a host campus. Every NSE campus has an NSE coordinator, somebody like myself, that will work with you to prepare to come to that campus on exchange. So I'm actually doing this right now. Literally today, I was emailing with students coming to my campus for the spring semester. Our current course catalog became available last week. Registration began yesterday for my incoming NSE students. So I've given them access to the current course catalog. I've given them registration instructions. Registration will occur in different ways depending on the school that you want to go to. On my campus, students go into the registration system, the online system, like every other student to register. In some cases, some NSE coordinators will actually register you on your behalf. Your host campus will also help with the syllabi requests. So at this point, not before placement, is when it would be appropriate to request a syllabi, specifically if your academic advisor or your department at your home institution says, okay, you've been placed here. Now we need to look at syllabi to see if the courses will match up with what you need to take here at the U of M. This is not always necessary. Don't go through the work yourself or your host campus or your home campus if a syllabus is not required. But for some of us, syllabi may be required for certain courses in certain departments. Your home campus will also continue to help you with the assistance with course selection. So you'll continue to work with your home campus advisor just like you do every other semester. They're going to help you decide what classes you will take at your host campus. They'll also offer you assistance with that course approval. Again, sometimes departments or advisors will do that themselves, or they may refer you back to the admissions office or the registrar's office. And they'll also provide assistance with your return to campus after your exchange. A key piece of that is requesting a transcript at the end of your exchange. That actually will close the books. That'll bring your credits back to your home institution. So one important thing to know about with NSE is it is a well-supported program. You have a home campus coordinator. That's the person that will be assisting you through the research and the advising process, as well as the application and placement process. But you also have great support from your host campus. So somebody like myself at that host school that has actually accepted you to come here on exchange and will continue to support you through all aspects of the exchange, including academics and registration, to come to that particular campus. So you are well supported. I'm going to stop my screen share here and stop to see if there are any questions about anything that I've talked about so far. We also have some other experienced NSE veteran coordinators here on the call, so I would love for anybody to ask questions or to chime in on anything that I've talked about so far. Okay, well, keep the questions coming if they are questions. I'm going to open up my website and share my screen again to walk you through some of the information that is available directly to you here on the NSE website. So one key message in today's session is literally any college student, I should say, almost every college student can participate in NSE. We do offer, and this is a great advantage of NSE, that these are other US institutions or Canadian institutions that are accredited. That's always a key condition of courses transferring back to your home institution. So literally every single major can be accessed through other NSE campuses. It does take some important planning and careful planning ahead of time. So I'm glad that you all are here right now to do this planning ahead of time, to do the research, and then to have those conversations with your academic advisor. But it is very rare, and I'll say this at the University of Minnesota, it's very rare for me to be working with a student that we find out, nope, this is not going to work. Because departments, colleges want students to have these types of experiences. Many are going to be flexible and work with you to find a school and a time where you can do something like National Student Exchange. So first of all, when you visit the NSE website, you probably have noticed that there's a pop-up window. I think I was already on the site, so I'm not getting the pop-up window to appear at this point, where you can find out who your NSE coordinator is. Because I'm not getting the pop-up window, I'm going to show you this. We have a request info button here where you indicate your name, phone number, or email address, questions or comments. You should also indicate your current school, where you currently go to school, and click Done Send Message. That goes to your home campus coordinator. They will then be able to reach out to you to offer support at that point. But back here on I do see a chat here. Would it be more advantageous to do an exchange senior year if you're planning on applying to grad school at that college? I think that's a great idea and great suggestion. I actually do have seniors who do NSE. Sometimes it's because they're thinking about grad school and they want to go to that school and make some connections and see if that's a place they want to go. Or sometimes just for different job markets. I have a student who's graduating this May who said, I really want to begin my life in a new city. So they're going to California for this upcoming spring semester. They will fly back to graduate in May and then go back to college or go back to California to continue building their life at that point. So I think that's a great idea. It all depends on when applications for that grad program are due, whether you're there when you apply or not. But I think that's a helpful thought. Okay, so right here on the homepage, we have this great search bar. And specifically to the topic of this session, you can select what do you want to study. So this is a list of all of the majors and minors and other academic areas that are offered through other NSE campuses. And the number that you see here is actually the number of NSE campuses that offer that major. So accounting is a big major, pretty popular. 144 campuses offer it. Whereas some of these are going to be much smaller, animal behavior and ethology. That I'm not sure if that's a word. Much smaller campuses. Arabic. I met with a student who's studying Arabic here at my campus, wants to continue learning Arabic at another school, so we actually selected that list. And so select the area of study and click search. There's that pop-up window. And so that brings you to this searchable map page, which right now we have filtered for campuses that offer Arabic. So on the left, you'll see the list of schools that offer Arabic language courses. And on the map, you actually see the dots where those campuses are located. So this is a great search tool for you to find the campuses that may offer the specific area of study that you're interested in pursuing. And so this is not a perfect list, I will say. As I said earlier, sometimes majors are called different things at different campuses. So you do have to be a little bit creative. You do sometimes have to look at multiple searches. For instance, conservation biology here. Well, on my campus, that major is not called conservation biology. It's called environmental studies policy management. That is the equivalent of conservation biology. So I point that out to my students, but be a little bit creative with your searching. This map has some other really interesting search tools as well. You can just filter by location. You can filter by payment plan, host and home. That indicates where you actually will pay tuition to when you go on exchange. You can filter by academic terms. So this is term specific. So if you're looking for spring 25 or summer 25 or next academic year, we could filter by that. And then this is a brand new feature here, which I think could be interesting. Again, given this topic right here, you can filter by some of the interesting locations, things like big cities, the beach campuses, college towns, mountain wilderness campuses. But there are also some institution types here. COPLACs, these are public liberal arts colleges. They're a public college, typically smaller, that have more of a private liberal arts feel. We also have R1s and U15s. These are the top research campuses in the US and Canada. So specifically, if you're interested in research and high research campuses, that's a great list to search from. We do have private and independent campuses too. And then we have the MSIs, the minority serving institutions, which are called ANAPISIs, HBCUs, HSIs, and Nasantis. So you can filter by any of those as well. Now I do want to go to a campus profile. And so we've selected University of Georgia from the list. They offer Arabic as a language. And so now I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the specific. Actually, I'm going to go to a different campus here that I am a little bit more comfortable navigating. We're going to look at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Oops, I'm going to reset that search. We're going to look at Hawaii because there's a couple of really interesting features that I like to point out. So as I said earlier, the academics tab, which is found at the bottom of the profiles here, has some really important information. This is where you should begin your research when it comes to academics. First of all, there is a link to their campus catalog. And like I said, that is general. Those are refreshed every, I think, 5 to 8 years. It's literally every single course that's offered at that university. Whereas the schedule of classes is a little bit more term specific. Now, I just was working with a student that's planning to go to Hawaii, and so I'm very familiar with this page. But a lot of our NSE campuses have similar pages that can be helpful in your research. So I said this earlier. We were looking at the spring 2025 course schedule. This is literally the list of departments and the list of classes that will be offered this upcoming spring 2025 semester. But looking at previous terms as well can be helpful, like the fall 2024 term here. If I had a student that I was advising, and this was the case for fall of 2025, well, looking at this past fall 24 class schedule can be helpful. Again, because you can see the courses that are offered, but specifically, we can look to see the seats available column. So I was working with a student that does need a couple of biology elective courses, and so we looked through this list. We started looking down here in the upper division courses, 300 and above, and started looking at the seats available column. So, they were really interested in marine biology. They have a marine ecology and evolution course here. While this class filled up, it had 0 seats available. So they may be able to ask permission. Maybe there'll be seats available next year. But at this time, or this past fall semester, that class filled up. Something for them to be aware of. But we were also looking at some other elective courses. I think genetics was on their list. Well, there's plenty of seats available in that genetics class. That's a good sign for that particular student. Okay, and I don't intend to focus on any particular campus, but I wanted to point out that a lot of our campus profiles have this really helpful information that will help you in doing research and making good decisions. I showed this earlier. When will you register after campus students? So again, that is a little bit of a red flag that you need to have some extra flexibility for this particular campus because some classes will be full. We see closed programs. So nursing is oftentimes a closed program. There's so many state requirements for nurses that it's hard to take those in another state. But these are closed programs there, so you should not expect to get classes in those areas. And then this school has a pretty sizable limitations section. So always read through the limitations because it is a heads up that, hey, these courses or these departments may have some additional eligibility requirements. For this school, their business courses require students with a 3.0 GPA. Some classes have major restrictions. You have to ask for permission to register. And so helpful information, again, as you think about whether or not this is a good fit for you. Again, we emphasize all students should have some course flexibility, but that's especially true if your particular major shows up as a limitation or a closed program at that particular school. You'll also see notable academic programs, so things that this particular school is known for, the unique academic programs available at that school, things like Pacific Island Studies, Hawaiian Studies, of course, very unique to Hawaii, not going to be offered very many other places. One thing I did not mention is honors exchange. So a lot of times honors students are drawn to NSE. Well, here you're able to see if that school will give you access to their honors program. So those are honors courses or other honors experiences that that school may offer. And then at the bottom here, we do have a list of the undergraduate majors open to NSE students. I also wanted to point out, I mentioned the unique and notable programs. This is the list where you can find your program on the list. It is just in alphabetical order here. And this might be a great place to start. If you're an acting major, this might be a great place to start because these 3 campuses think that their acting program is unique. Now, you certainly would want to dig into that program, go to the campus website, go to their acting program to see if it's a good fit for you. But this is a handy list to maybe narrow down 50 or 100 or 150 schools that actually offer that particular major. So this is one more page. Now, most NSE exchanges are semester-long exchanges. That's the most common length of time. I think fall semester is slightly more popular than spring semester. Um, we do have full academic year exchanges as well. You can actually spend up to an academic year at a single NSE institution, but no longer than that. But sometimes students do figure out that I just can't leave my campus for a whole semester. Maybe there is a required course that you really have to take while you're take during that particular term. NSE would put you off track to graduate. Well, then I do want to emphasize that NSE also offers a summer exchange. For many of us, and I think for many students, summer is a little bit more flexible. You may not necessarily take summer classes every time, but summer would offer you an opportunity to go someplace else, go on exchange, take a class or two, and then return to your home campus for that fall term. So we have a smaller list of summer campus availability here. I'm going to put that in the chat. But this is why I made the statement that literally almost any student on my campus is able to do NSE. If they're determined they're not able to do it for a semester, then summer is certainly an option. This past year, I sent 2 students to the Universidad del Sagrado Corazon for the summer in Puerto Rico. They had a wonderful experience. Summer terms look a little bit different on every single institution. We don't provide a lot of information on the website because every school is different when it comes to the dates, the length of summer term, and whatnot. So that's important to note as well. Sagrada Corazon, they actually have a 3-week term in mid-June to early July. Then they have another 3-week term from mid-July to the early August. And my students were there for both summer terms. Janae asked, do any community colleges participate in NSE? So interestingly, that's a recent change of NSE, is that we are now, all of our member campuses are 4-year baccalaureate granting institutions, but we do welcome community college participation in NSE. So Janae, depending on what school you are at, your school would actually need to set up more of a formal agreement with NSE, but then that would give you access to the NSE program. Okay, I think that is the end of the information that I wanted to share. So just to recap what I've talked about, NSE really can work for every student, no matter what your major is or your minor is. Having some flexibility in your academic plan when you go into NSE is important. If you have really specific course requirements, kind of lockstep rigid requirements from term after term, then consider a summer exchange. Or ask your advisor, is there some wiggle room? Is there some flexibility where we can find a term where you can do national student exchange? I love when sophomores do NSE because oftentimes sophomores have a little bit more flexibility. You may have not declared your major yet. You're still working on general education or liberal education requirements. You're working on prerequisites that can be offered at any NSE institution. But not to say that juniors and seniors can't do NSE as well. Just depends on your academic program and your academic requirements. So I think I'm going to stop talking. I've talked for a long time here and open it up to questions for coordinators. Again, if you have questions, feel free to jump in, or if there's anything that I didn't mention that you think would be important. But specifically students, how can I help you? Can I help you navigate the NSE website, investigate specific schools? How can I help? And feel free to unmute and speak up, or you can use the chat. Any questions?
David, I think there's a few questions in the chat. I don't,
Oh,
or no, I think you already.
I think I
answered
answered
it.
the
You
questions in the
answered it.
chat already.
You
Janae's
answered it.
question. Yep. Emma's as well.
It's just
Um,
showing up new on my end. Sorry.
Gotcha. No worries. Okay. Well, what was I going to say? I had a thought and then I lost it. I'm going to stop the recording here.